Did you know that the killer at Hinterkaifeck didn't run after the murders? They stayed. In March 1922, on a small farm in rural Bavaria, 6 people were killed with a mattock. The farmer, his wife, his daughter, her 2 children, and the maid. All found in the barn and the house. But the murders weren't the most disturbing part. Weeks before the attack, the farmer had noticed footprints in the snow leading toward the house, none leading away. He heard sounds coming from the attic. He found a newspaper on his property that no one had bought. Someone had already moved in, and after the killings, that someone stayed. The animals were fed. The food in the kitchen was eaten. The neighbors who stopped by saw smoke rising from the chimney. For several days, whoever did this lived on that farm with 6 bodies rotting in the barn just meters away. No one was ever arrested. No one was ever identified. The footprints came in. They never left. Did you know a man was caught on airport security cameras sprinting through a terminal, vaulting a fence, and vanishing into a field, and has never been seen again? His name was Lars Mittank. He was 28 years old, a healthy German tourist on vacation in Bulgaria in 2014. He had gotten into a fight at the beach a few days earlier, a minor thing. He was told not to fly until a doctor cleared his ear. His friends went home. He stayed behind. That night, he called his mother. He told her he wasn't safe. He said he couldn't trust anyone around him. He asked her to cancel his credit cards. The next morning, airport cameras caught him sitting in a doctor's office. Then something changed. He stood up, grabbed his bag and ran, full sprint, through the terminal, out the doors, over a fence, into the trees. No one chased him. Nothing was there. That's what makes the footage so disturbing. He wasn't running from something you could see. Lars Mittank has never been found. Did you know a family vanished in the Oklahoma wilderness and left behind nearly 2,000 photos of themselves in the hours before they disappeared? In October 2009, Bobby and Sherilyn Jameson loaded their 6-year-old daughter Madison into their truck and drove into the Sans Bois Mountains to look at a piece of land. They never came back. Their truck was found parked in a field. Their dog was inside, barely alive. Their phones, their cash, and their belongings were all left behind. There was no sign of struggle, but there was a camera. It held nearly 2,000 photos taken that same afternoon. The images showed the family walking through the same stretch of land, over and over. Blank faces, empty eyes, moving in slow, aimless loops like they were sleepwalking. They looked like people whose minds had already gone somewhere else. 4 years later, their skeletal remains were found 3 miles away. No cause of death was ever determined. Nobody knows what those photographs were of. Nobody knows what the family saw. Did you know a woman was kept chained in a dark room for 25 years, and her own mother told everyone she had simply moved away? Blanche Monnier was a young Parisian socialite, beautiful, well-liked, from a respected family. In 1876, she wanted to marry a man her mother disapproved of, so her mother made a decision. She locked Blanche in a room. No light, no visitors, a mattress black with filth, the windows sealed shut, the door bolted from the outside. 25 years passed. The man Blanche loved died. The mother continued hosting dinner parties, accepting compliments from neighbors, living her life as a pillar of local society. In 1901, police received an anonymous tip and broke down the door. They found Blanche inside, barely alive, weighing around 55 pounds, surrounded by rotting food and rats. Her mother was arrested. She died shortly after, showing no remorse. The part that stays with you is this: the mother never had a reason to keep her locked up. She just never stopped. Did you know an entire American town once went to bed every night, convinced a masked killer was standing just outside their window? In the spring of 1946, someone began hunting couples in Texarkana. Remote roads, parked cars, no warning. Over 10 weeks, 5 people died and 2 survived with memories so broken they couldn't describe what they saw. The town didn't just grieve, it unraveled. Stores locked their doors before dark. Churches held emergency prayer services. Families slept with loaded shotguns across their laps. Neighbors stopped trusting each other because nobody knew what the killer looked like. Nobody knew anything. Then, after 10 weeks, the attack stopped. No arrest, no confession, no name, no face. The FBI investigated. Texas Rangers investigated. Journalists from across the country flooded the town. Nobody found a single piece of usable evidence. What makes this case truly disturbing isn't the murders. It's the silence that followed. Something walked through that town, killed 5 people, terrified thousands, and then simply disappeared. and it's still out there. Did you know a 14-year-old boy vanished in broad daylight in one of the busiest cities in the world, and no one has ever found a single trace of him? On the morning of September 14th, 2007, Andrew Gosden got dressed like it was a normal school day. He was quiet, gifted, and by every account, completely happy. But he never went to school. He walked to the train station, withdrew every pound from his savings account, and bought a one-way ticket to London. Not a return ticket. One way. He arrived at King's Cross Station around midday and walked into the city. That was the last confirmed moment anyone ever saw him. No body, no note, no contact, nothing. What makes this so hard to sit with is the planning behind it. He knew what he was doing. He had thought it through. And the people closest to him had absolutely no idea. Whatever Andrew was carrying in those final days, he carried it completely alone, and he took it with him. Did you know someone spent years terrorizing a family with anonymous letters, and even after a suspect was caught, the letters never stopped? In 1976, a woman named Mary Gillespie in Circleville, Ohio, started receiving letters in the mail. Whoever was writing them claimed she was having a secret affair. The letters were cruel, detailed, and deeply personal. Her husband Ron tried to find out who was sending them. Before he could, he died in a single-car accident. Authorities couldn't determine if it was truly an accident. The letters kept coming. They targeted her children. They targeted her neighbors. The whole family lived under a shadow that never lifted. Eventually, a man named Paul Freshour became the prime suspect. He was convicted of an unrelated attack and sent to prison. Then something happened that no one could explain. The letters kept arriving, postmarked from Columbus, dated while Freshour was locked inside his cell. Prison officials confirmed he had no access to mail. Freshour denied everything. The letters just kept coming. Whoever was really writing them was never identified, never caught, never explained. They may still be out there. Did you know a major airline once quietly removed plane parts because the ghost of a dead pilot kept appearing on flights? On December 29, 1972, Eastern Airlines Flight 401 crashed into the Florida Everglades. 101 people died, including the captain, Bob Loft, and flight engineer Don Repo. The wreckage was salvaged. Usable parts were pulled out and reinstalled in other Eastern planes. Then the sightings began. Flight crew on multiple aircraft reported seeing Loft and Repo in galleys, reflected in cockpit instrument panels. One flight engineer reportedly saw Repo's face staring back at him from inside an oven door. On one flight, a man in a captain's uniform sat in first class. A crew member approached him. He looked up. It was Bob Loft. Then he vanished. On another flight, Repo reportedly warned a crew member that the plane had a serious mechanical problem. Maintenance crews later confirmed the fault. Eastern Airlines investigated. They removed the salvaged parts. They never made a public statement. The silence is the part that stays with you. Did you know that during a suicide crisis on Pine Ridge Reservation, survivors started describing the same figure? They called him Walking Sam, impossibly tall, no face, a hat made of bones. He appears at night to young people, to the ones already struggling, and he whispers, not threats, reasons, quiet, patient reasons why life isn't worth finishing. Between 2014 and 2015, Pine Ridge saw over 100 suicide attempts. 9 of them were children. Some survivors, when they came back, described a tall shadow standing near them before it happened. They didn't know each other. They gave the same description. Tribal leaders took it seriously enough to issue public warnings. They held ceremonies. They asked people to travel in groups after dark. Nobody could agree on what Walking Sam actually is. A legend that got loose. A shared hallucination born from grief. Something older that found a wound and moved in. What's harder to explain is this. The attempts slowed after the warnings spread. As if naming him did something. As if he needed the dark to work. He's still out there. Did you know an entire French town lost its mind in a single night, and someone may have been watching the whole time? August 1951. Pont-Saint-Esprit, France. A quiet town of a few thousand people. Then, within hours, everything broke. Residents screamed that snakes were crawling out of their bodies. Men jumped from windows. Children clawed at their own faces. Over 300 people were hospitalized. Several died. France blamed ergot, a fungus that sometimes grows on rye bread. Case closed. For decades, that explanation held. Then, in 2009, a journalist named Hank Albarelli uncovered CIA documents while researching the agency's secret LSD experiments. The documents pointed directly to Pont Saint-Esprit. The theory was that the town had been covertly dosed with aerosolized LSD, a live test on real civilians with no warning and no consent. The files remain classified. But here is the part that stays with you. If someone engineered that night, they knew what was happening while it was happening. They watched people beg for their lives, convinced they were being eaten alive from the inside, and they took notes.